Hello everyone. So today I just wanted to make a quick video going over a lot of the issues surrounding the handguards for the Spear series. I got the LT and the full size here. This one's in 308. And just a couple of things that I've noticed while using them and taking them apart and just kind of looking at the design overall. And kind of why the reason I want to come up with the handguard for this the big one. And just a lot of the issues kind of come over from the Virtus, when the Virtus was starting, and Arasaka made clamps, started making clamps for that, the zero retention clamps. And what it does, the original one that I had got for the Virtus was basically two machined M-lock profile aluminum blocks. They were low profile, but this screw would go through the handguard and squeeze the handguard together. So all of the, I guess the tension was retained by the screw between these two blocks, and that was what was keeping this from flexing and keeping it snug onto the upper receiver on the tracks here. So that was kind of the fix for that at the time. And since then, SIG has come out with the Spear series with these screws that are actually directly to the upper receiver. Now, it's a good idea and it's good. The only thing that I, would have liked to have seen, which adds complexity to machining and tolerances, is I would have made this a countersink screw. Sorry if you hear the dog snoring. But when it's a countersink screw, it would index and keep it from moving in any direction because it's a set direction. It's a cone, almost like the tapers that they use. It's exactly like the tapers that they would use in the muzzle devices. But because of tolerances and GD&T, they went with this, and that's what I believe, and that's what I would like to do for production too, is a button head, so that any tolerances would be taken up by, the assembling parts, not the screws, right? So the tracks and whatever contact surfaces there are in the mating parts, right? So it was good, but it was not good enough because of leverage and all of these things that we already know. It's all the way at the back. I feel like this was less bad, as I mentioned in one of my other videos, than this one because of the thickness of the handguard and also the machine pattern of the handguard. So this, I feel, is more rigid overall than this one, even though or because of this being larger and longer and everything, this is more rigid. But people have started reporting that these are also shifting with the longer variants and all of that. So obviously on this one, I already have added the Arasaka zero retaining clamp, and it's their second generation with, I'll take it apart so I can show you guys. It's an extrusion with an internal profile that will go around the barrel without making any contact, but will hook up, and actually it has like a claw or a cup. It will cup under in here on the receiver, and the screw is not holding all of the tension through the whole, I want to say 2 inches of the width of this. It's maybe, I want to say, ½ inch or quarter inch long screw, and it's less distance. It's more rigid. I think it's more secure because it's not solely depending on the two blocks and the screws tension onto that. It's more like a direct cup from the upper to this little block here. So it's more rigid, it's more secure, and I think it will be better long-term over vibration and all that. So I like this design more. Now, I sent them an email to ask them if they can make one of this for my handguard, and they have told me that they will make one for this OEM handguard. That I still don't like this handguard because of those issues. I want to make one because I already did it, and also I just don't like these cuts. I'd rather have everything, if it's going to be cut, be an M-lock if possible. So that's why I'm still doing mine, and hopefully they get back to me and we can make one together, or I have to figure it out. So I'm going to take them apart in a minute, and I'll take them both apart and we'll go over the shift. While they're torqued down now, I guess it would be prudent to check this issue that everyone's talking about. So the camera's over here, and people can flex it, they say, which I have done, but you need to make sure you torque everything down. And this has been torqued down, and as you can see, it is shifting very badly. Now, there are some people saying that it's the barrel, and it is, in my opinion, with my sample size, not the barrel. You see? Not cool. I think part of the problem too is because of the way that this is so much tolerance in there, is not tight. I like that about this one, the LT, that it is more tight. No gap in the assembly. And I think I went over this in my last video, the gap here, you can actually see it move. I'm trying to do everything one-handed, I'm sorry guys. Yep, there it is. You can see it moving. But enough of that. This one, with the zero retention clamp and the stock screws, is not shifting at all. Obviously, the barrel and everything will have flex. Everything has flex between the receiver, the actual flex of the materials of everything. There's always some flex, but we want it to come back, right? We want everything to be as sturdy as possible. And with this zero retention clamp, I am very happy with the zero retention of this rifle. Obviously this one not. For the money, that's an issue, I think, especially with everybody always getting on every manufacturer's butt, which they should, because everybody's making their money, and buying this is not for free. But luckily we have aftermarket to fix these things, you know, like an automotive. And let's take them apart. Hello? And we are back. We have taken apart basically everything that we need to go over this issue. Now I'm gonna only go over the 308 one because I'm obviously gonna be taking this thing apart more and more. And then also it's late and I don't want to take apart the other one. I already did that in another video. But as far as the issue goes, we're looking at, I guess, two problems that people are saying is possible here. One is that the barrel is flexing in the receiver, which I don't think is the problem. If it is so, then it is a very big problem, because that would mean that the machining in here would be bad, where the barrel extension goes. It would have to be out of round, or not cylindrical. It would be more just uneven machine service, you know, for the way that this index is and goes in. There's the pin over here on the side instead of on the top, or 12 o'clock, like everybody. Okay. And the actual play in here is minimal. I want to say maybe 0.0. You can see it here, 0.0, maybe 0.001. I don't know. I'm not measuring that right now. And then side to side is not much. So the way that this works is it's a clamp, as you can see here. Sorry, the wobble in the table. There's a slit cut here. So these two screws will clamp this shut. On top of that, we have these cut rings, like clamps here, that will hold the barrel from shooting itself, ejecting itself away from the upper receiver. These screws are in sequence together. You can't just tighten one down and the other one, because then some wonky stuff and then it'll pop out of the retention. Put it in there. This will be clamped and it will hold it from shooting itself out, ejecting itself out. There are two locator pins. Okay, that's the poke yoke there. Obviously, if the gas block being down is not enough for you, there's only one way it goes in, and it's held in there. So the first issue of the barrel moving would have to be these are not torqued down, or the machine surface in here is not good enough for the barrel extension, or the barrel extension is not good enough for the receiver, or a combination of the two. Okay, so I don't think that the barrel to the receiver is a problem, and if it is, that could be more negligence than a production problem, which I hope is not the case. In my experience, this thing has been good since the day that I received it, and I'm the only one who has taken it apart and looked at it. Now, the other issue, what I think is the real issue, is this handguard. This handguard, although it's very beautifully machined, all of my issues are with this handguard. So when I put this handguard on here, when everything is assembled and torqued, when I look down the profile of the top with the lighting, you can see that this is a little bit wavy to one side, like all us men. But I saw that it's not consistent, I guess. Now, when I clamped the upper to the receiver here, and this was as straight as it would go, the barrel to this handguard would not be centered. So it would look like to one side. And I didn't like that. So then I loosened these screws and I centered the handguard to the barrel, and then I torqued it down. And then this was off a little bit to one side, the Picatinny rail, which again, we go back into tolerances and things like that. And without looking at their tolerances, maybe it's in spec. But as a consumer, we hold the manufacturers a very high standard. And I think it's good for what it is. And if it didn't move and it held zero, it would be a non-issue, I think, as a manufacturer. But I think the bigger issue is that they machine so much that it has lost so much rigidity, and you want it to be lightweight, but with this high caliber rounds, maybe they took off too much. I don't know. I'm not the guy who makes those decisions, but I want to make it more rigid, and that's what our profile is going to do, our extrusion. And then another thing is all of these light cuts. I think that maybe per their testing, this was structurally sound. And I think per their testing, this was what they needed. But again, consumers will scrutinize more than I guess what we do to sell. I don't know what their criteria was. So I think the rigidity is not helping. As you can see, this is flexing here. So when you put that on there, obviously, it will not be gripping as tightly on these rails. It just is what it is. So to counteract that, we have the screws that go here, but again, because of leverage and everything, we are really not doing this any favors, you know. So again, I think the Arasaka zero retention clamp will do well, you know, to hold it maybe more center, maybe not so much forward, but I think around here, center would be good. That's where I kind of planted mine here, kind of in the middle between the end of the receiver here on this track that they have here. And again, that will clamp it. The Arasaka, the new generation Arasaka clamp goes and cups it under here and pinches it here, instead of the one on the Virtus where it would pinch it as a whole, you know, as a whole from here with that through bolt screw. It pinches it here individually, which I think increases rigidity. I don't know by what percentage, but it increases, I think, the friction and how tightly everything is together. So yes, those are what I think is happening with the spear issues, with the barrel moving and the obviously handguard moving. Okay, so also I'm gonna see if I can put the torque specs in the description, but over here they did a good job. They put the torque spec there and they gave you the bolt pattern, you know, 1 2 1 2 1 2. And yeah, other than that, this has been a very nice rifle to shoot. I like it a lot. But if you're going to put a bipod on it and lasers and stuff up here, you want this to be as rigid as possible. And I still appreciate SIG putting this out. I love the platform, and I should be getting another one here shortly. And hopefully we'll have our handguards out in August, so people can enjoy it, hopefully, if the design is sound. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye.